Well, Arsenal are closing in on a first Premier League title in 22 years as they face Burnley at the Emirates. Next year are the managers.
Well, the team is really present. It's just is living the moment. It's emotional in a really good state. I think the energy level is the right one. We have most players available now. Okay, we lost Ben the other day, but the other ones are coming back as well. So yeah, and everybody obviously is so enthusiastic and so positive about the way that we can finish the season.
I think you've got to look at it as an opportunity as well to go, one, to be involved in a game like that, two, to be really be excited about that, and it's a platform to then go and perform. We can't influence everything that's going on around it and all the noise about this game's coming up. But what we can do is make sure, like we did against Villa, it proved last week, that we were still taking the competition really seriously, and that's what we'll do.
This is an absolutely huge one on Monday night for Arsenal. They've just come off a huge one, which was at West Ham. What did you make of the mentality of the grit they showed to win that game in controversial circumstances at the end?
Yeah, but I think if you're not up for it and you're not motivated to try and win that game, which of course they were, then they shouldn't be in the position that they're in. And credit to them, they found a way, because West Ham were putting everything in front of it. This is a team that's fighting relegation. They had to try and find a way, and credit to Arsenal, they do. And at this point of the season, and teams that might go on and win Premier Leagues, I don't think they're playing free-flowing football. I think it's about getting the job done, all because of teams they're up against, like West Ham, who I mentioned, are in relegation fights. So you've got to find a way, and like I said, that they did in the end.
Yeah, I think they are playing the season superbly well. They don't have to win 3 or 4-0 against relegation fodder. They just have to win the game. The controversy, which I think we might see towards the end here, it doesn't matter because it was a foul. It wasn't a situation that should have been something else. But 1-0 Arsenal, boring Arsenal. I think that's how they used to win the. Yeah, it's a wonderful save by Raya there.
How do you rate his performances this season and his importance in what is a title push?
Fantastic finish. He's done what he needed to do at big moments. The clean sheet, I think it's 18 clean sheets, one in every 2 games. Yeah, what's interesting here, there is a part actually where Raya gets underneath Pablo's arm. So Pablo couldn't move his arm. But I think in the end they got the right decision. It was a foul and therefore Arsenal deserved to win. But going back to Raya, I mean, there's been plenty of games this season. I can't name them the number off the top of my head, but I think it's probably about 6 or 7 where he literally hasn't had a save to make. That's how good the team is in front of him. But when he's been called upon, like the big save he made there against Fernandes, he's answered that call and thoroughly deserves to be in a position to possibly win the Premier League title.
There's been big criticism of Arsenal in the last couple of seasons, especially when they've been finishing second. Their mentality, they haven't quite been able to get it over the line. Games like this in seasons before may have, and we've seen them being tripped up by West Ham in seasons before. Does this show that they are much closer to the mentality of champions? Well,
only know until the end, till they lift that trophy. And it's true, though, that, I mean, the only reason why people question them, we question them, is because they haven't lifted it yet. Yeah. And once you do, you go, oh, but last season they lifted it. You know, we're only questioning it because it's not been in their hands yet. And I think all the nerves in that conversation will die once they have it. They've added significantly to their squad. They've learnt over the last couple of years, sometimes you have to go through experiences. You've got to understand that this is a big moment. This is a significant moment. I think they've done that. And again, they're on the verge of winning a double, Champions League final as well. So, but I think they've got an unbelievable squad. And that is a lot of credit to Arteta, to putting that squad together, that there's 2 players of high calibre in every position, that when someone comes in, the other one just takes the team up to another level. And I think that's something that you have to applaud them for doing that.
A little bit of issue at right back now with Ben White going off injured in that game. It was interesting to see Arteta move Declan Rice there. I
don't think there's an issue. I think they could put anyone there against Burnley and still win the game. I think that's how good they are. They don't, as I said, they don't have to win 4-0. They just have to win the game. The one thing, just touching on what Karen said there, I think the difference between this season and previous seasons has been the manager. His emotion post-match, pre-match, during the match in previous seasons has been evident for everyone to see, whether it's high or low. And I think he's been so calm this year, and I think that has gone through the team as well. Where they've made mistakes, players just carried on. And I mean, Declan Rice is a prime example. Makes a mistake, doesn't fluster, laughs to a little bit, if you like, and then the team go on and win the game afterwards. So I think the temperament of the manager has definitely spilled into the players, and that's why they look so calm at the moment.
Yeah, you mentioned Declan Rice then, the conversation obviously for player of the season. Where do you guys think he ranks, and how do you rate the season he's had?
He's been unbelievable. I think the moment for me that sums Declan Rice up was when he was on his knees and they just lost to City, and he said, "It's not over yet. It's not over yet." Because he's got a mentality and a spirit and a heart. I don't think I've seen his work rate is unbelievable. And that is just drives through the whole team. When you've got someone like that just puts their body on the line every single time and has that big passion. I haven't even mentioned his technical ability. He's got it all. He really has, and he's worked at it and improved so much. And they wouldn't be where they are without him.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think when he signed from West Ham, and it seems ages ago now, there was a question mark on whether he was going to improve Arsenal. I think this season we are seeing the best of Declan Rice. In answer to the question, is he player of the season? No. It's difficult to compare.
Who's yours?
Yeah, who is your player of the
Top
season?
goal scorer,
Haaland.
Erling Haaland, yeah.
This is Declan Rice's numbers for the season. Before we get on to your player of the season, 35 appearances, 5 goals, 4 assists and 63 chances created. That doesn't really sum up the season that he's had, because you talked about his work rate, his
distance covered's not on there. That's
distance
why.
covered, which is, it must rank right up there.
I mean, yeah, and the perfect example is the block you saw where he's chased a player 3/4 length of the pitch, so David Raya doesn't have to make a save. These things don't necessarily come out in numbers on a graph, but what they do is let the rest of your team know that he is giving 100%. Yeah. And again, that's sort of indicative of what you've got on this Arsenal side at the moment.
Let's talk about that defence of Arsenal, because, you know, the number of clean sheets, another 1-0 victory in the West Ham game that we mentioned. And, you know, we've already talked about the goalkeeper, but what about the players in front of him, especially that duo at centre-back?
What a save. That wasn't a defence, that was a goalkeeper. This is wonderful. The last team that I can think of in a position at Arsenal who defended like this was Chelsea. The likes of John Terry would throw themselves on the ball and get the blocks in. I mean, last-ditch tackles, stuff like that. Again, that stops David Raya having to make a save, and everybody's in this to win it. And I just think the defence they've got has been superb.
Yeah, they're quick, they're strong, they're physical, they're aggressive, they put their body on the line, but also they're brilliant in the opposition penalty area to get set pieces and goals. That's a massive part of their game as well, and they're colossal, the 2 centre-backs at that. The spine of the team, the goalkeeper, the 2 centre-backs, Declan Rice, just that spine there. And they're an off-the-ball team. Arteta has always been, we defend first, we'll be hard to beat, and we'll get the goals, or the opposition will make a mistake. And they've just grown confidence on that, and they're amazing. Yeah,
least amount of shots on target against, half of what Burnley have faced this season. That's because the defence is so solid.
So we've got a bit of everything. First, though, to Mikel Arteta, who has been speaking to David Craig about trying to get Arsenal over the line in the title race, ending a 22-year wait for a league title.
Nothing is done yet. No trophies are in the cabinet. But should that be the end result, do you feel the foundations here, Mikel, are for a dynasty? What I'm saying is it's very hard to win back-to-back trophies. It's very hard to do it. But do you sense that this club is in a space where Man City found themselves, that long-term you could go on and achieve that sort of...
When you see the trajectory and what we built in the last few years, and especially in the last 4 years in terms of consistency, the amount of points, wins, you should have a few trophies, big trophies already. That only happens in this league. But that drives you to be even better. So we still have to make that a step of finalizing the business. And that's the opportunity we have in the next 3 days. And then we'll have time to talk about the rest.
I mean, Mario, I'll start with yourself. I mean, how crucial is this for Arsenal? Because there's a few people, I think, within football that kind of feel like with this Arsenal squad and with Mikel, that perhaps get this over the line and the floodgates of more titles could really start to open for them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, look, this is also the last thing that everybody's waiting for, right? Because, you know, if you get that close every season, now they want to say, like, okay, get us over the line, because then you break the momentum and say, like, okay, we are the real deal. And that is the question that everybody has, including myself. I'm waiting to say, like, hey, are you going to do it? Because they were on the cruising moment, and then they allowed City to get back into the run. And it's by themselves. They did it first by themselves leading, and they did it by themselves getting them back on track. So in a way, I feel like winning it for them is going to be very important. And you know how they be very important. And you know how the Arsenal fans be very important. And you know how the Arsenal fans are. Oh man, oh, if someone is cocky in London, it's Arsenal.
I'm not sure. I've been hiding behind the sofa pretty much all year, mate.
Oh my God,
I hear it all the time. The sofa.
I hear it all the time. But hey, listen, if you deserve it, you should win it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Jules, look, you've written on so many fantastic teams over the years, but I guess if Arsenal, this Arsenal team, were to do something that the club has never done before, which is win the Premier League and the Champions League, where would they stand in terms of, I guess, their history and other Premier League teams of years gone by?
I mean, that makes it the greatest team in the club history, for sure. Better than the Invincibles.
You would put it above the Invincibles?
I mean, to win the double league and Champions League, which obviously Champions League has never been done. There's a final loss by, you know, Thierry's team at the time in 06. But yeah, for me, it would be above everything else. Like a league and cup double is great. For me, it would be above everything else. Like a league and cup double is great. A league and a Champions League double is something else. It's so rare. City and Guardiola have done it once in the 10 years that he's been at the club, for example. You know, we could look again at the great teams that have won the Premier League and how many have won the Champions League on the same year. It's so difficult to do. And for this team that is not complete, by the way, there's still a bit of weakest points there in this. It's a good squad, but there's still some positions I think that you can upgrade as well as a football club.
Yeah.
But the work that they've done the last 6 years, Mikel, but not just Mikel on his own, but the way this club has been transformed from bottom to the top, with all the right people in charge, has been really impressive. They just need that title now. It's the only thing missing for me.
Mario, you were just watching that goal against West Ham from Leandro Trossard. How much of a confidence boost is it going into these final two games? I know there's the anxiety around it, but that belief must be there for the players, thinking, you know, they took it right to the edge with West Ham, but they still did it. They still found that goal.
That is the confidence that you build in a team, right? When you go after a title, those are the moments. Because in the moments when people have their doubts, but you as a team keep on believing, that is what pushes you over the line. And I think the moment when they scored that goal, it was like, okay, it also... you know, your captain comes in the game, he arrives in the game, and people saying like, oh, he's playing safe. He clearly wasn't safe in that moment because he turned back, had to dribble, plays the 1-2 and then cuts it back. So at that moment, he also opened the books for others to say like, listen, maybe you saw me as safe, but now I'm showing you that I'm the risk taker because I came on this field now to make us win the game. And he clearly won the game for them.
Yeah.
You know, the captain comes on and he did that. So in a way, like winning titles, is that what you just said? The belief has to be there, and sometimes it doesn't have to look beautiful, my friend. You just have to win.
Well, that's it. And I guess, Jules, it's back to your point on, you know, the work that Mikel Arteta has done. And I think, do you think maybe he doesn't get the plaudits he deserves sometimes? You know, there's always a lot of talk about, you know, how he's acting on the sideline and etc. But when you look at, you know, they're in a Champions League final and on the cusp of a Premier League title. Maybe some people, you know, you look at the team on paper and they go, how is, you know, I remember at the beginning of the season, people were projecting them 4th place, Liverpool being 1st. Yeah. You know, how much is that down to him?
Yeah, him massively. I think the way he's reset the culture within the football club, the DNA of that football club, the mentality that he changed since he arrived. Really, this is something that he identified very quickly when he arrived at the club more than 6 years ago now. He hasn't been on his own, really. I think there's been, again, a lot of the key people at that club pulling in the right direction, which was always the right thing to do. Maybe the credit will come with the titles as well, which is I think a fair comment to say that you could do a great job until you've actually won proper, not just the FA Cup during COVID, but proper then after that, the credit that you deserve, because I think he deserves a lot of credit, will come, and so do the club. But the character that they showed this season, the last-minute equaliser against City at home, the last-minute winner away at Newcastle, that win against West Ham, where the pressure is so high, you know, it's there. And even when you went through a tough April, when you were not playing well, not winning, to still be 2 points clear now with 2 games to go, I think even the players deserve a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure this is an image that's been shown so much, but let's just take, once again, a look at that fixture run between the two sides. Because, Mario, there's a question that I wanted to ask you, right? So, Arsenal, let's say, for argument's sake, they get through the test of Burnley at home on Monday. How many of the Arsenal players might be saying to themselves, shall we meet up to watch Tuesday, Bournemouth versus City? Do you think they'd say that? Because there's a chance that, you know, something happens there, they win the league on Tuesday.
Yeah, but you know what the thing is? I don't know. Like, if I go back to my own experience, you understand, I didn't win it in England, but I went back home. But going back home, it was like, you always keep your eyes on what the opponent does. You understand? You don't want to do it, but you're doing it. Because it's something that happens to you is without you want to do it, but clearly after the game you're like, hey, you know something? You know something? You know, it just happens. Yeah. And trust me, if you're my teammate, you're getting a text if they lost. I'm like, dude, have you seen?
Do you think some of the players might meet up and...
Definitely. Yeah.
Do you think that'll be the... Well, you know, you never know.
No, like, if you look, okay,
if there's a chance that you're champions, you have to. And
you're my buddy.
Yeah. If it's not happening, it's
one team, if I hang out with you all the time, you think I need to wait till I see you? No, we are seeing each other. Even if you don't want to see me, you're making time for me. And you're not going anywhere. I'm saying, like, dude, we're watching the game. Come on.
Yeah. But if you're Pep Guardiola, this is different from the previous FA Cup finals. Going back to the one against United, they'd already won the league. They look like they'd literally come from the pub or wherever they had the celebrations. And they literally almost looked like they played hungover. They were that poor on the day. Last season, their season was just crescendoing towards this miserable end of the season where it was getting Champions League or bust for City. That was their number one focus. Take nothing away from what Crystal Palace did to win their first ever major trophy in club history. Now going to this match, it's a bit of a tricky one because Pep Guardiola has something that maybe he didn't have for much of the season, where he's getting bodies back. He's getting depth back. He's getting key figures back for Manchester City. And my big thing, I don't question the mentality. I have a question is, who does he go with? How does he line up for this? Because he has a lot of options. And he also has this end of an era feeling for some key members. You think of your John Stoneses, you think of potentially your Nathan Akes, and of course, someone you're going to get into, Bernardo Silva. So City, their mentality is win, win, win. They're going to take this very seriously. How could you not? It's a cup final.
I agree, but he's also got to have in the back of his mind Tuesday.
Yeah.
He's got to have that in the back of his mind. A manager of his experience, I think even this will make him think a little bit, OK, how do I play this? On one hand, you say FA Cup is in their hands. They can win it. They need other results, potentially, to go their way. Arsenal could stumble against Bournemouth on the money. Don't forget, they only got 1-0. So it adds a bit of intrigue.
Do you think he overthinks it a little too much? Do you see Pep overthinking it?
Pep overthinking?
Extra overthinking. Overthinking the overthinking.
When you interview him, you can see the wheels going round.
All right, well, let's get into the storylines, because there's lots of storylines to watch. You've all identified one that you're really looking at coming into this game. So, Jeff, kick it off for us here.
Yeah, we're talking about one of the most experienced managers, one of the most successful managers in world football in Pep, Callum McFarlane, the interim manager. And he's the interim manager for the second time, because don't forget, in January when Maresca left, he took over then. His first game, just a nice and easy game against Manchester City. Came away with a draw.
Yeah.
So, if you like, the fear has been taken away from going into the Lions' den. They've been on a terrible, terrible run of late. They lost 6 games on the trot. Now, of course, they're not all under Callum, but interestingly, at Anfield last week, switched to a back 3. So that is interesting. I think he actually... Now, you talked about the supply teacher leaving at the end of the season. Because they know he's not going to be in charge next year, it's a reverse of that, Tom. I think the players actually do respect him. Yeah. They are. This is Chelsea. This is literally shit or bust. This is their chance of rescuing a dreadful season. It's as simple as that.